we'll start with a quote from St. Francis of Assisi. True love and compassion can only flow from your eyes and lips when you too admit that you are capable of any act.
Mm.
And it's when I read that I finally understood how Mr. Rogers could say to any and everyone he met, whether it was a 4-year-old with a toy machine gun or the President of the United States, how he could say and mean it, I like you just the way you are.
Mm.
I had puzzled over that for many years. Well, Jillian, since you're in the upper left of this screen here, would you be so kind as to read The Moment's Depths?
All right, let me pull that one up. The moment's depth. Okay. The moment's depth is greater than that of the future. And from the fields of the past, what can you harvest again? Dried flowers I have from a meadow I laid in with her and moved across her breasts. When I need love's scent, I touch them. A mine with jewels can be the past for the heart, but who goes to an old mine that only made you sad? I have seen a man walk on a high stretched rope, holding a long pole for balance. Memories and dreams can do that, be a great help. The soul does not understand the word seasons. The petals on the sun can only be touched now. The beauty of dried flowers, how can they compare to him? The moment's depth. The moment's depth is greater than that of the future. And from the fields of the past, what can you harvest again? Dried flowers I have from a meadow I laid in with her and moved across her breasts. When I need love's scent, I touch them. A mine with jewels can be the past for the heart, but who goes to an old mine that only made you sad? I have seen a man walk on a high stretched rope, holding a long pole for balance. Memories and dreams can do that, be a great help. The soul does not understand the word seasons. The petals on the sun can only be touched now. The beauty of dried flowers, how can they compare to him?
What a sweet little sermon about be here now.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from anyone about this lovely meditation on the tendency of the mind to go to the future and the past, and thereby miss what's in the present?
I rather love, Brother Shankara, that she doesn't, that she sees beauty in the past and the future. It's not that she decries them as having no worth. She says the beauty of dried flowers and the image of being in the meadow with the one you love, the jewels. But so it's as if she's honoring the past, but just saying, don't stay there. That the now is more valuable.
Why would you go there if it makes you sad? Yes.
Right, right.
And the petals of the sun can only be touched now.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful
No, I agree. There's no judgment in Rabia. None whatsoever. No, only celebration. You know, well, I shouldn't say only. There's a couple of times when she gets off a snark. A real snark. But so anyone else, anything at all about this charming little sermon about the power of now as compared with the future and the past?
Good evening, everybody. Hi, Brother Shankara.
Hello there, Jeffrey.
Oh, I love this poem. I really love this poem. Even the way it starts with the moment's depth, because there is a depth to the present moment, that you can't, it's so interesting, the past and the future, because, they also exist now in the moment's depth. If I'm thinking of the past, I'm thinking of it now.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking of the future, I'm thinking of it now. You can't get back to the past, right? You can't get ahead to the future. You can. There's words tell us that, it's words telling a story, right? Even when we talk about the past, we have to tell the story of the past. We're talking about the future. That's also, we're using words to describe, but this is greater, because it holds the past, it holds the future, it holds everything. It's the absolute, and it's mysterious, right? I mean, and it's not, this isn't, whatever this is, it's more than just what we can say about it, it's more than we can, the words are just pointing to the moon, right? And I think the past, sometimes we can, because the past is and thoughts, I think of their thoughts, right? And thoughts are always coming from memory. So it's saying the freshness of this, the depth of the moment is going to be fresher. We can go back and remember beautiful things, those jewels of, when we got married, or the birth of our first child. And those do make the heart sing. But a lot of us, myself included, will go back to those old minds that make us sad, and we go back there, and sometimes we don't know why we keep returning to those places. But the more I do this kind of talking and reading, I find it easier and easier to just be with all of those things in a more relaxed way, which happens now. So yeah, I really love this. And I love this idea of the soul not understanding the word seasons, because the word is different. Winter is not winter. The word winter is not the feeling of the cold on your fingers, or, it's not the experiential. It's a stand-in, right? It's just a word. It's pointing to something, but it's not the actual thing.
I'm glad you pointed to that stanza about the seasons. Because that's, yeah.
I think words can be very confusing, and the words, when you believe them, especially, really affect how you experience the moment. It could be painful and full of suffering if you're believing everything that's coming up, that. But yeah, so that's my little take.
Well, it is a fact, like you said, the words and the memories are all in the present. And particularly fiction writers, they are the stuff of their craft. The inspiration arises, and then they find those moments that illustrate it and craft them into these beautiful passages.
And also, this will be the last thing I'll say about it. I love this part with I was I was trying to figure out this image of a man walking on a stretched rope with a long pole, and the memories and dreams, the past, the future, they can be a great help but to me, I don't want just a great help. I don't want to just sort of walk on this tightrope, which can be quite exhausting, I imagine. I want to surrender. I want to let go. I want to free fall. I want to put the pole down and just go into the great unknown. You know, we live our lives like that, like we're on a rope and we're just trying to keep everything just so if I can just get everyone to see things my way and do things the way I like them done. If I could just, you know, we have dreams about everything work, you know, or whatever. But to me, I don't want to be on, I don't want the long pole and I don't want to be on a stretched rope and I just want to surrender.
Very nicely said. The more you mean it, the more it'll happen, as I understand it from the scriptures. But for most of us, that tightrope is a reality. You know, it's also metaphorized as the razor's edge. And so the long pole of memories and dreams. Yeah.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Yeah, I always have difficulty defining what's a moment. The past, we can take use of our memories. The future, we can make use of ideas, dreams, or whatever. But the present is like a blank. And again, how do you define if it's a blink of an eye? Is it like a snap of a finger? By the time you do that, it's gone. So, you know, even in our language of compassion class, the first thing we do is, okay, how are you feeling in the moment? And by the time we answer that, that moment is gone. So, moment, present, I have a hard time in like kind of conceptualizing how can I be in the present when it is so fleeting and blank.
Well, perhaps, dear, you're too much thinking about it and not feeling of it. The moment is a realization of the witness self that is not of the mind. It is of something deeper in us, call it the heart. When you simply sit in that witness seat, which you gain that witness seat through the practice of concentration and perhaps even meditation, as you watch your thoughts, you'll notice that in the moment, this witness presence is perfectly content, perfectly surrendered, as Jeffrey said. There's nothing for it to, it's perfectly willing to fall into the depths of silence. So the moment is not something that you can, as you very correctly said, it's not something you can conceptualize. It's only something that you can feel of. And this witness presence is where one senses the power of the moment, because there is nothing lacking in that witness presence. There's no need to follow this train of thought into the past or imagine something of the future. And if the mind does that, the witness self simply says, oh, that's what's happening. And just observes it happening until it arises and passes away. But this is why I think there's such power in what Rabia says. The petals of the sun, the petals on the sun, can only be touched now. Well, touching the petals of the sun is not an idea. It's an experience, a feeling. Did any of that make sense, dear?
Absolutely, Brother Shankara. Thanks for bringing my sort of understanding back to a centered position, like you said. Instead of thinking too much, I need to learn to feel.
Well, it does help. Anyone else have anything to say about this poem before we move on? Okay. Heidi, would you like to read The Sky Gave Me Its Heart?
Surely.
Don't call me Shirley.
Certainly. The sky gave me its heart. The sky gave me its heart because it knew mine was not large enough to care for the earth the way it did. Why is it we think of God so much? Why is there so much talk about love? When an animal is wounded, no one has to tell it, you need to heal. So naturally, it will nurse itself the best it can. My eye kept telling me, something is missing from all I see. So it went in search of the cure. The cure for me was his beauty. The remedy for me was to love. The sky gave me its heart. The sky gave me its heart because it knew mine was not large enough to care for the earth the way it did. Why is it we think of God so much? Why is there so much talk about love? When an animal is wounded, no one has to tell it, you need to heal. So naturally, it will nurse itself the best it can. My eye kept telling me, something is missing from all I see. So it went in search of the cure. The cure for me was his beauty. The remedy for me was to love. That's lovely.
Yes, it is.
And to your point, Shankara, in previous weeks, where you say that Ladinsky organizes these in a very intuitive way, I love that this follows the previous one, because he's saying, let's not think, let's not talk, let's just allow ourselves to heal. Yeah, I think this is really lovely.
Yes.
And the eye kept telling me something is missing from all I see, so it went in search. But all the search could find was beauty and love, which is the present moment, right? Those are the feelings, the experiences that we can only experience fully in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a lovely follow-up to the other one.
I agree. Yeah, we can write a great country song about the love that went missing, but it sure is not there in the moment. What's there in the moment is what's creating that song. I can't stop loving you. You're still on my mind.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
I like the last line, the cure versus the remedy. Now, the cure is something permanent, remedy is temporarily until you get the cure. So you keep loving until you see his beauty, and then you will be cured.
Oh, nice. That's lovely.
Yes, indeed. And it's one of the nice things about having an MD among us. She knows the difference between the cure and the remedy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have anything to say about this lovely poem? I just love the way it starts. The sky gave me its heart because it knew mine was not large enough to care for the earth the way it did.
Mm-hmm. And that's a lovely image too. If you think of the sky, I just got the image of the sky as being this blue orb around our blue and white orb. So it's kind of like a sheath, right? If we imagine that blue, I mean, it's not solid, obviously, but if we imagine it as a blue sheath surrounding us, it is like a sort of caring,
Yes, oh yes.
caring thing. Yeah.
Well, it's a literal truth that the atmosphere cares for the earth.
Yes. Yeah. I guess it is scientifically. Yes, absolutely. Right. Right.
And also on that first stanza, you know, the sky gave me its heart because it knew mine was not large enough. I mean, look how vast and big that sky is.
Yes.
When I read that, the first thing that came to my mind was, again, the big blue vastness. But then, like, you know, you see the white of an airplane going through the sky, and I just envisioned this huge heart out of white, you know, kind of outlined, a huge heart like that. I mean, you talk about a big love, right? I mean, this guy gave me its heart. I just love that. The
Yes.
sky gave me its heart. I mean, I just think that's so great.
Yes, it is.
And I love the idea of a sky being empty, but holding everything.
Yeah,
And
so
Very nice. Very nice, Jeffrey. Empty but holding everything.
everything, the scary storms, the hurricanes, you know, but yet it remains the sky. It remains untouched. Yeah, I love that.
and it still cares for us, this earth, in such a magnificent way, you know?
Yes.
So when he says, because I knew, you know, the sky gave me its heart because it knew mine was not large enough, is that referring to Rabia, or who is mine? Or
Well, I'll just tell you what I heard, dear. As we know, there is no single answer to this. Everyone hears it. But, you know, there's the small s self has a kind of heart. It's often self-centered. And so this is what I think she means by not large enough. Not large enough to care for the earth the way it did. So my small, self-concerned heart was replaced by, obviously in her spiritual experience, with this endless, and as Jeffrey pointed out, this endless emptiness that cares for and is filled with everything. But as a saint pointed out, the earth the sky, the air, may carry a good smell or a bad smell, but it itself is untainted. And so I think that idea is contained in what she's saying, that the sky contains it all and cares for it all, but is untainted, undiminished. Anyone
You-
else?
Yeah, Brother Shankar.
Two people were speaking at once. So let's hear from first one, then the other. Who was the other person?
One was me. I don't know who the other person was. Can I go first?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I was thinking of these two lines. Why is it that we think of God so much, and why is there so much talk about love? And again, applying what you told me, Brother Shankara, when I asked the question about the moment, depending on the emphasis, which word we put the emphasis, why is it that we think about God so much? Why is there so much talk about love? When the animal is wounded, no one has to tell it, you need to heal. So naturally, it will nurse itself the best it can. Likewise for us, I mean, all this talking, and
Yes.
thinking. If we are left to our nature, we probably will return the best we can.
Well,
I mean,
this is the purpose of spiritual practice, is to escape the distraction that keeps us from healing ourselves naturally as an animal will. Somebody else was about to talk at the same time, so I am.
that was me, Shankara,
Yes.
Jillian. Um, Looking at that first stanza again, I had this sudden image of climate change. You know, our hearts are not large enough to care for the earth the way the sky does. You know, we struggle as to how to care for the earth these days.
Yeah, oh, do we ever?
So yeah, I definitely saw climate change in there. And the other thing I wanted to add too, talking about staying in the moment, I heard this really wonderful little meditation idea the other day about staying in the present. And it was so simple and so sweet. The idea is that wherever you are, if you're sitting on the beach or sitting at home or sitting in your garden, to say out loud 5 things that you see, 4 things that you hear, 3 things that you touch, 2 things that you smell, and which one am I missing? I'm missing one of the senses, I think. And then 1, whatever that last sense is.
Taste.
Taste. There you go, taste. And 1 thing you can taste. And I tried it once and it was just really beautiful. It's simple, and if you say it out loud, it is such a present moment, easy, short present moment meditation.
Well, it's a form of mindfulness meditation.
Yeah.
When one draws oneself into the present moment by focusing on what do I see, what do I hear, what do I smell. All beautiful, and it narrows from 5,
Yes.
4, 3, 2, 1, and finally you're just left with that.
Right.
And if the last one is taste, you're left in your mouth, and where you've been saying these things aloud. Beautiful. There are so many ways to be mindful, so many little techniques to be mindful. And Swayam, I really like what you said about the verbs. Why is there so much talk about God, about love? Why do we think so much? Why do we think of God so much? Why is there so much talk about love? Thinking and talking. And then it says, an animal doesn't need to be told. It just does it. So it doesn't have to think about it or talk about it or be told about it. It's only us. that are, oh, Jeffrey, I want to hear you read this one and tell us what you think about it.
You know, I was going to say one more thing about that last one.
Yes, please.
Because they can be quite clever with this, but towards the bottom it says, "My eye kept telling me something is missing from all I see." You know, I think of also the letter I, or the personal I, the little self I,
Ah,
the one that goes, "Oh, this is fine, but if only I had that job, I didn't get that, something's missing. This isn't complete. This isn't good enough. There's supposed to be the sounds of trumpets and angels and where are the fireworks? Something's missing here. I'm gonna try. Let me go try Eckhart Tolle. Let's see what maybe he has the answer, or
yeah.
Byron Katie, or I've been through so many things when I was younger, looking for what was missing. They seem to have it. I don't have it. It's missing. I got to get it. Right. And that's operating from a place of incompletion, of looking for that thing that's going to make us whole when it is whole. The cure was to love, was this wholeness, this allowance, this sky that allows for everything, the beingness of it all, the fact that we're here and it can experience each other. It's a miracle, but we think, well, but something's missing.
Yes.
And that's that little ass self, right? That's always dissatisfied.
Like Dorothy and the scarecrow and the Tin Man and the lion, what did they discover?
It was all along.
That they had been manifesting what they thought they needed all along.
Yes.
They had it all along. That's such a beautiful story that illustrates just exactly what you were talking about. So we go through this incredible adventure to get to Oz, and then we find that Oz is nothing but Maya, nothing but this magic show. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. But then he says, well, yeah, I'll give you what you came for. But the secret is you already have it.
Oh, yes.
Right.
And we're all manifesting it all the time, which is one of the reasons that remark about the moment is so poignant.
Yes.
We can touch the petals of the sun, but we doubt it. And in a previous poem, as Jillian points out, there's this through line. In a very not so long ago, she said, those who are afraid cannot touch the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So, we think about it, we talk about it. Talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk, pick a lot, pick a little.
It's funny, I teach preschool and the kids have nap time, and I usually tell an oral story, as the kids settle down. I'll make up stories, but today I started telling the story of Wizard of Oz. I just started orally telling the story.
What a synchronicity.
Oh, I love synchronicity, but I'm like, oh, how perfect that you brought that up, because, and they, and they love it. And it's so true, right? It's just right here. You don't have to look for it. Like with the now, like what is now? We'll try to get away from the now. It's just so absolute that you don't have to do anything. It's so effortless and generous and fresh and always happening. You've never repeated a moment. Not once. It's incredible, right? Try to get out of now. And I've been trying to, but there's no seams. There's no thing to pull back and crawl into.
You found the seamless garment, did you?
Oh, I've been looking for seams. I haven't found one. I can't find one.
So I got to tell you a funny story. That just brings up a story about W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields, of course, had been an irreverent, irreligious man. it was acknowledged that he was dying, and he was bedridden and so on. And one of his very close friends was John Barrymore. And John Barrymore came to see him one day and found him reading the Bible. And Barrymore said, "Bill, what are you doing reading that book?" And Fields replied, "Looking for loopholes. Looking for loopholes." So yes, we're always looking for loopholes. So we're looking for the magic bullet. We're looking for that which will make it all right. When if we just find that witness seat, we find it is all right. And the sky has given us its heart.
Brother Shankar?
Yes, dear.
Yeah, I was had one more sort of comment, and I was trying to connect the three words: heal, cure, and remedy. Cure and remedy is, as physicians, we try to find the remedy and eventually the cure. So then I was thinking about heal, and I actually had to Google for some meanings, and one of it is to alleviate someone's anguish and distress. And recently, having been through some health challenges, people with good intentions, they keep saying that you need to do this, take an avocado, it'll make you, don't take an avocado. I mean, there are so many things that we get bombarded with. Again, this talk.
Yes.
Maybe just some silence. I mean, let the professionals do their job and give time to heal. So that's what I thought, maybe the connection in the spiritual thing. Again, certainly talk, listening, and reading are important, but then to sit in the silence to heal.
Well, you're right on every count that you brought up, dear. And it is so remarkable what happens with all these well-meaning people who have their opinions about what we should do, in addition to what the professionals tell us. So,
And in addition to, I mean, what I love about that stanza talking about healing, and what I interpret healing to mean is, in addition to what the professionals, can give us, guide us to do, the body has its own wisdom, right?
Oh,
The
yes.
body knows how to heal. And I think that's what he's saying in that one. Nobody has to tell it you need to heal. Our bodies naturally have healing properties.
Yes, well, that was one of the points made in that talk. The wonder of your stardust spacesuit is that it is a self-repairing mechanism.
It is a self-repairing mechanism, absolutely.
Sometimes it needs the help of professionals, as Swayam pointed out. And the older you get, the more true that becomes. But it's nevertheless, it is a remarkable self-repairing mechanism. And most of what the professionals are doing are simply in aid of that, just to keep it from getting worse while it fixes itself.
I always say that rest and quiet are highly underrated for healing,
Yes, Heidi, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just stop calling and leave me alone.
Right.
Again,
Yes.
all well-meaning, but
Stop telling me to take more vitamin C or eat an avocado or not eat an avocado. All right, dears. Jeffrey, would you like to read Slicing Potatoes? Unless there's something else.
Yeah, just a quick light-hearted comment that I remember from one of Swami Sarvapriyananda's talk. I don't remember the title of the talk, but he was talking about prarabdha karma. And he said, no matter how much gluten-free diet you eat, when your prarabdha karma is over, you are gone.
Right. Just when the lamp runs out of oil, it doesn't. There's nothing you can do about it. Yes, indeed. Anything else from anyone before we move on to slicing potatoes? Okay, Jeffrey, would you like to read this one?
Oh, I'd love to. What a little jewel.
Yes.
Slicing potatoes. It helps putting my hands on a pot, on a broom, in a wash pail. I tried painting, but it was easier to fly slicing potatoes. Slicing potatoes. It helps putting my hands on a pot, on a broom, in a wash pail. I tried painting, but it was easier to fly slicing potatoes.
As you say, a little jewel.
Oh, yes.
And once again, her tremendous sense of sly humor.
Yeah, I love the everyday objects, the everyday activities. You know, sometimes we think, you know, I need to get on my meditation pillow, or let me get to my yoga retreat, or, you know, we think we have to go somewhere else to sort of achieve this now, this oneness. And I, you know, sometimes just doing something, right? I mean, what washing our hands, or that the presence is always there, you know, whether we're cleaning a pot or doing the wash. And I like this idea of the painting. To me is like the thing that we're doing that feels special, right? But for her, it's just easier to throw a potato. You know, it's just so easy and obvious and effortless and
Fly. I love
and
the
playful.
word fly.
It's so playful, you know.
Yeah.
There's something, whereas with painting we can be quite judgmental, right? Oh, it's okay, I don't know how to draw it, you know. And I experienced this with myself with my own painting. You know, you don't really give yourself permission. You know, the inner critic really gets amped up when it comes to something where you're expressing yourself.
Yes.
Right, it's like, you know, but yeah, there's something very playful about it. And I like how she's using these everyday activities of washing a pot and a broom, because it's there too. It's not, it's everywhere, right? If it's absolute, then it's always there, no matter what you're doing.
And in the sly humor, it's so easily accessible. It isn't, as you said, something that you have to go somewhere and do. It's right there in front of you.
It reminds me too, Shankara, of the wonderful book that Jack Kornfield wrote several decades ago, the great Western Buddhist teacher, Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Again, a synchronicity, dear. That was exactly what was in my mind. The Zen saying.
The Zen
Before
saying,
illumination, chop wood, carry water.
Yep.
After illumination, chop wood,
carry water.
Exactly. And yes, that does very much bring up that thought.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
So in this one, I sort of find a parallel to Sri Ramakrishna's teaching that, you know, dig deep and don't keep digging wells. The reason is, in the beginning she says it helps putting my hands on a pot, on a broom, in a wash pail. These are all, again, everyday activities. Slicing potatoes is an everyday activity, but painting is something that's outside of that. And many times we try to do things or compel ourselves to do things which you know, don't come naturally, or we have to push ourselves, whereas sticking to that which is easier will probably get us to the higher faster than going and trying different things which are difficult for us as an individual, but somebody else is doing it, so okay, I think I have to do this kind of thing.
Well, I hear you loud and clear, and it's very much what Jeffrey was saying. You know, when we engage with things like painting, we engage another part of ourself that can bring forward that inner critic, that self-judgmental self. And oh, what a pain in the neck that guy is, or woman is, depending on your gender of the moment. Anything else about this little jewel?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to, I think when I started with this poetry group, like over a year ago, instead of going from the front of the book to the back, for those who haven't, been with us since the beginning, we would just choose a poem, open a book and choose a poem. And that's how, we would select them. And this was one of the first poems that I read, and I just fell in love with it. And, I have a degree in the culinary arts, and so when I first read this, I thought, okay, I cannot paint, I cannot draw, so I thought of that as, a creative outlet, but I can cook pretty good, okay? And so that's one of the things I thought when I first read this. And then just to kind of echo what Jeffrey and others were saying about the everyday chores.
Yes.
You can really meditate while you're doing them and honor, your highest good by just those mundane, keeping a home clean or whatever, and you can meditate while you're walking. And so I've often been doing my dishes and, just right there in the moment, instead of thinking what I'm going to do next. But
yes, yeah. The word fly is, was easier to fly, slicing potatoes.
And the image of that is just so comical,
Yes. Her sly, wry sense of humor. Swayam, would you like to read In My Soul?
Sure. I didn't say surely, I just said sure.
It's quite all right.
Okay. In my soul. In my soul, there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church, where I kneel. Prayer should bring us to an altar where no walls or names exist. Is there not a region of love where sovereignty is illumined nothing, where ecstasy gets poured into itself and becomes lost, where the wing is fully alive but has no mind or body? In my soul, there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church that dissolve in God. It works. Oh, sorry, that's the next point. In my soul, there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church where I kneel. Prayer should bring us to an altar where no walls or names exist. Is there not a region of love where the sovereignty is illumine nothing, where ecstasy gets poured into itself and becomes lost, where the wing is fully alive but has no mind or body. In my soul, there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church that dissolve in God.
Mm.
Once again, it's a little sermon about sectarianism, about separation and unity. Where the wing is fully alive, but has no mind or body. Ah, that which flies.
I love too that she moves from, in the beginning, she's saying there's a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church where I kneel. So it's like this is her spiritual evolution, if you will, that in the beginning, there are these different ways of praying, these different ways of honoring God that she acknowledges. But then she says prayer should bring us to an altar where no walls or names exist. So that by the end, when she turns to the soul or to prayer, she's able to say that they dissolve not only without walls or names, but they dissolve in the one, in God.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the way this poem has this kind of sense of evolution.
It develops, yes.
Mm-hmm. And, not that that's a lifetime thing. I think we can evolve from day to week. Some days we have very grounded, sort of earthy meditations where we just feel like sort of a lump of clay, and others where we do get a glimpse of that dissolving.
Oh, yes. Yes, both those things. And there's nothing to lament about either one. Each one is, as Swami Vivekananda says, when you're in that lump of clay, you use that lump of clay metaphor. He says, all that you're doing there is gathering strength so that the next peak is that much higher. So as an economist would say, the trend line is upward.
The trend line is upward. Okay, my cat seems to be taking more interest than
Yes,
usual.
I noticed that. What, is that Mama Cat or is that Pistol?
No, this is Pistol, and he likes this time of day to just come annoy me. He says, you should not be sitting at your desk anymore. You should be down paying attention to me.
Of course.
He's beautiful.
Yes.
He's a lovely
Really
guy.
is.
Very mischievous, but a handsome boy.
Is there not a region of love where the sovereignty is illumined nothing? What a couple of lines. Is there not a region of love where the sovereignty is illumined no thing? Where ecstasy gets poured into itself and becomes lost. No thing, lost, nothing to hold on to. As Jeffrey said earlier, willing to fall into that great silence. Meister Eckhart is very eloquent on the great silence.
Mm.
We'll get to him. And
Beautiful
then
poem.
where the wing is fully alive, but has no mind or body. That which flies is flying, fully alive, but aimless. And in Zen, there is a talk about the perfect meditation is to wander aimlessly.
Mm.
I can never be lost because I have no destination.
Mm. Mm.
Jeffrey, anything from you about this one?
You know, I love the way it's pointing to the no walls or no names. You know, this silence, right? But that is still a beingness, right? It's illumined. You know, there's a light, and we know we are, and then we start adding to it, right? The whole I, you know, it's the I am, and now, well, I am Jeff, and I am American, you know. But you know what so many of these poems help with is pointing you back to that amness, the beingness, which doesn't really it doesn't require you to say anything about it, but you know it's there, right? If we were to sit here silently for the next 5 days, we would still be in touch with whatever that is, right? Whether our thoughts are there, it's there when our thoughts are busy, and it's there when our thoughts are silent. It's just, it's got, you know, it's got to be absolute. So it has to be, you know, whole, but in a felt way. I think that's so important, because the mind does want to get it, right? It wants to get it the way it gets in an equation or solve it like a math problem. You know, we want to turn into an object, but it can't be known in that way. But it is known, right? We all are knowing it right now, like it's undeniable. And then we want to start with the talking, right? We love to talk about, but when it resonates, it doesn't. It's not up here, right? It's resonating with something deeper.
Yes.
You know, I think these poems do a beautiful job of pulling us deeper and reminding us of what's there before we start describing it. You can describe it forever, but it doesn't touch what it is. It's just the description.
Yep. Immanuel Kant was very eloquent on this point.
Mm-hmm.
But Immanuel Kant was a real pissant and very rarely able. Heidegger was a boozy beggar who'd drink you under the table. If you haven't heard the Monty Python Philosopher's Drinking Song, I suggest you pull that up on YouTube. It is absolutely hilarious. Sometimes Monty Python hit it right out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Philosopher's Drinking Song.
I'll definitely look that up.
Yes.
Yeah. And what I think is special in all of these poems, to follow on with what you said, Jeffrey, is there's just, what you said, Shankara, there's just no judgment. It's like wherever you are, right? If you're still in the mosque or the church, you know, that's fine.
Exactly.
And I think that's, in all of these poems that we've read so far, there's just not a whiff of judgment that, you know, any place we are is not where we should be.
No.
No shoulds. It's beautiful.
No shoulda, coulda, woulda. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, the closest she comes to it is, well, I tried painting, but I found it easier to fly slicing potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
and that dissolve. It all dissolves into the reality. As Jeffrey said, we have all these labels in Sanskrit. The word is upadis, which means limitations. We limit ourselves by saying, I'm so and so, I'm this, I'm that, I have this role, I have that responsibility, blah, blah, blah. All of which is true, but it doesn't mean a thing about that being at the center of us that, as Jeffrey again said, used the word absolute, changeless, eternal, limitless, infinite, absolute. So that'll do it for this evening. We'll start with It Works next week. Any final thoughts from anyone? And thank you all so much for coming. Like we've all said about talking, we talk and talk, but for me, the talking is not so much about the talking as it is to be in your company, to be with people who care about such things and love to be with such things and be with other people who love such things and think about such things. It is a bath. It is a bath for this weary soul.
Poetry bathing, like
Yes.
forest bathing.
Right, poetry bathing. And Robbie is a great bath. She pours it all over us.
And yes, I love the poetry, but also I do love hearing everybody's interpretations. I love the co-creating of the evening that we do, so and
Yes.
the loving
Yeah.
way. It really is a pleasure.
It is indeed.
It's special.
And I'd like to point out that I've had some of Heidi's cooking, and she's not kidding when she says she's good at it. She is good at it. She does that good stuff.
Thank you, Shankara. You're
And
kind. You're kind.
well, you're kind. You're the one who brings the stuff over here to eat. And
And how are
Jeffrey,
you feeling? How are you feeling?
oh, weary. You know, this old spacesuit is weary. The spirit is not weary at all, as it was evidenced by, the fun and the humor and the engagement tonight. There's nothing afflicted at all about the spirit. But this, it's as early on there was a remark about Saint Francis of Assisi and the fact that Assisi was asked if he'd have done anything, if he could have done anything differently, what might it have been? And he said, "Well, I think I would have been kinder to Brother Ass." Well, he meant it in one way, the way that the austerities of monasticism in those centuries. For me, it wasn't so much about austerity as it was dissipation. And so, there's no such thing as an effect without a cause. And so this old spacesuit is now suffering the effects of having not been well cared for in decades past, which is a long-winded answer to a simple question.
But we love your stories. We love your explanation. That's what, again, all this is about, right?
Well, thank you, dear.
And your brilliant mind and heart, Shankara.
Oh,
Undimmed.
yes.
Undimmed.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
And no matter how many participants, you catch the gist of each one's perfect. Sometimes even I'm not sure if I'm communicating my thought correctly, but you catch it.
Well, dear, everyone has their gifts. each one of us. I would have loved to have been an unseen presence in the room as Jeffrey was telling the story of the Wizard of Oz, those children about to take their nap. I really mean that, Jeffrey. I would have loved to have been in the room and just been able to hear what you told those children, because I'm sure what you told them was something that will live in them, whether they're aware of it or not. It will live in them and somehow awaken something in them. That seems to be what you're about.
Oh, thank you, Brother Tom.
It's sweet indeed. Well, every one of us, you know. Oh, by the way, just so we'll know, we'll all know what's happened. Haima sent me an email saying that she's signing off. She has, they're starting a study group in a community close to her, a Vivekananda study group, or Ramakrishna Vivekananda study group. And so she's going to be spending her Monday evenings in that way. So we won't see Haima anymore on Monday nights anyway.
And we had a new person tonight who stayed on for the first half, I guess, Amy Moss.
Amy Moss. Actually, she's not new. She comes and goes to this group and to others. She lives over near Athens, Georgia, and I believe lives by herself, and maybe somewhat neurodivergent.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm glad she joined us tonight for however long.
yeah. All right. Good night, dears.
Good night. Good night.
Until the next time we see one another. Heidi, it's always so good to be with you. And when you talk with June, tell her, give her my love. As we know, Elizabeth has gone down to Florida.
Right.
So she arrived safely, by the way. I texted her and asked her to let me know. She arrived safely down in Venice, and so.
Good. Yeah. And June, I had lunch with June last Friday, and she's doing really well.
Excellent.
You know, she's doing some activities, you know, and, you know, she's just got to be so careful that, you know, if she's out, that she has to have a walker. I mean, if she had another fall, it would just really be.
Oh yeah, with the osteoporosis, she has to be so careful.
Yeah, so she just is, you know, taking it easy, and but yeah, she's feeling well, and she's her old self. So I will say, everyone says, "Oh, hey," and Haima too. Tell her, those of us who are only on Monday nights, that we say hey, and we'll miss her.
Okay, I will tell her that. She is a delightful soul.
Yeah.
So, until next time, dears, buonanotte, and we can all go looking for loopholes. Good night, dear.
Good night. Namaste.
Namaste, dear.